doing its thing. We got it. This meeting is being live streamed. All right. I think we're live. Shane, do you see the live
We are
button?
live. Welcome, everybody.
Okay.
How's it going, Amy? How's it going, Kristen?
It's
great.
Yeah,
Awesome.
It is. It's going good. It's going good. We are so excited because today we have Kristen Stapleton with us, and this is going to be such a fun conversation. Primarily because we operate a lot. The three of us do from the same principles. We're working with a lot of the same kind of people behaviorally. We're passionate about leadership and culture and producing within that culture really good stuff for clients, both externally and internally. So it's going to be a good conversation. But what really binds us together is this idea of agile leadership, because there is a quote that says that agile is not something that you do. It's something you have to become. Now, in my world, I had to learn agile leadership the closer I got to systems of technology. So that's what really forced me out of the linear, traditional, very hierarchy type of leadership model. Now, please hear me when I say that I still believe that there is a leader, and that leader, everything rises and falls on their decisions, and that they have responsibility that other people in the chain don't have. And I agree with all of that. But I also think that because of technology, we as leaders have to be willing to work with people, both internally and externally, in a bit of a different way, because in their day-to-day life, everything is an option. Everything is custom to them. I mean, they can pick up they can have an iPhone just like I do and have a completely different experience with it. So who am I as a leader to think that you're going to come into my organization, both as an employee or a contractor or a client, and suddenly it's only my way, right? So I want to shut my mouth and hear from you guys. So I'm really excited because both of you have contributed greatly to my own life, and just in the conversations we've had, have been challenged. It's really forced me to think about, what do I really believe? Do I really believe this? Do I really have proof of concept on some things that I was very convicted about? So it's been really good. So here is the question that I'm just so curious to know from both of you. And Shane, we'll start with you, is how does an agile leader lead change? How do they do that?
Okay. Good question. Good question. I think to answer that, I would want to define the opposite of agile, which to me is rigid. So a person who is not an agile leader can be a rigid leader. For me, I started out as an agile leader, Amy. Like, I started out with the ability to move quickly in different directions based on feedback, inputs, and had flexibility to be able to move as the business grew. It grew. And then what happened was I had a certain level of success, and the switch flipped, and I became a rigid leader. So a rigid leader is somebody who doesn't lead with transparency, which I believe is required of an agile leader. And the agile leader is someone who leads with transparency. You see, rigid leaders, they get to a place where they are only focusing on protecting. So a rigid leader is always looking to see, how do I keep at bay that which threatens me the most? And that shuts down that person's ability to be agile. So an agile leader is someone who leads with this transparency. They're open to feedback. A rigid leader isn't open to feedback. A rigid leader is open to justifying. A rigid leader is open to defending. That's the opposite of an agile leader. An agile leader is someone who is welcoming feedback, because all feedback provides context for an agile leader to make better informed decisions. I think also an agile leader is someone who invites dissent, right? A rigid leader, the opposite of an agile one, is someone who repels dissent. A rigid leader is someone who wants agreement, who wants people to go their way and not go in a different direction or challenge them. That's the opposite of an agile leader. An agile leader is someone who is inviting dissent, so much so that they will call it out in conversations. Like they will even dissent from their own idea in order to grant permission to the people who are around them, because there tends to be this power distance that separates leaders from truth, that these agile leaders recognize they have to call for that dissent and even dissent against their own ideas to welcome other people into that conversation with them. So I think that then leads to the second most important, I believe, attribute of an agile leader who's leading change, which to me has to be this idea of fostering collaboration, right? Like collaboration among different groups. A rigid leader builds silos. An agile leader knocks them down. The only way to knock them down is to foster collaboration. It's putting groups of people together who are not normally together for the process of problem solving, for the process of defining processes, building systems, for the purpose of, again, bringing different perspective. An agile leader wants to see all of the different angles. And the only way to do that is to bring this collaboration among groups who don't normally associate or are tied together because of process, and have them collaborate on new work. So those are a couple of things that hit me just right off the bat as I'm thinking about your question. How does an agile leader lead change?
Yeah. Kristen, when you're ready, just unmute yourself. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for that. Shane, did you see me smiling over here as you were like describing?
I was like, come on in here, man. We'll tag team. Let's do it.
I'm like, more of that. So yeah, I really appreciated that kind of setup, because, you described that so well, in the contrast between kind of that traditional type leader to moving to more agile. And some of the things that, as I listened to you, kind of stuck out to me was, really a lot of what you're talking about is becoming just insanely curious about other people's experiences. So it's really interesting, right? So like any product that we're making or any service that we're developing for others, it's really not for ourselves.
That's right.
That we're doing it, right? We're doing it for a customer, someone who has a problem or need. So when I think about agile leadership, it really starts with the customer you want to serve, because it's not about you. It's really becoming insanely curious about what problems they have that you, with your expertise, whether that's an organization or an individual, can help solve for them. So it takes a lot of like conscious effort to step away from, what my thoughts and my viewpoints are on the topic, the product, the service, and become insanely curious about what makes that other person see this as a problem for themselves. And I really think, like, when you think about agile, the only way to start to move like to a different viewpoint is to really flip that away from how you're thinking about it to more of an outward looking, what problem is there? What pain? Because most people are buying from a point of pain. So what is that pain? And can I need to understand it, like almost like I have lived it. And getting it's so ingrained in me and so deep in my shoes that like I can feel that pain. And I think, so when I think of agile, I think it really starts from stepping outside of ourselves and understanding what the pain is for the person on the other side. And like you said, Amy, that could be an internal customer, our employees, or it can be an external customer, one who we are selling to.
Yeah.
Well
So
said.
good. Okay. So some things that stood out to me was, number one, transparency, and number two, curiosity, which those are two very powerful behaviors. That's what they are. And it requires a lot of courage. I mean, I used to be the non-transparent, non-curious leader because I was so insecure. I was so terrified that it was going to be me that was the problem. Well, guess what? When you're the leader, 9 out of 10 times, we just have to accept that most of the time we are going to have a problem. Or we're going to be contributing to the problem. And so failing fast, I would also add, is a behavior of these agile leaders. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Failure. Yeah, I see that failure doesn't define their identity. it helps them define the solution. And so they're able to extract who they are and know exactly what they're good at and say, okay, well, the faster we fail, the faster we learn, the faster we can iterate, the faster we can give these people what they want. And they're going to find more value in staying with us. So I have to know, what have you found, Kristen, needs to happen for a leader to move into this agile behavior versus being closed and locked in their office or sitting at the table and letting everybody talk and then walking out like, okay, well, I'm agile. I let you all talk and now I'm leaving. Like what does a leader have to do to begin to make that transformation? What are some things you have found?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it starts with learning the process. Like any time that you want to get better at something, I think that Shane probably knows this, the number of hours it takes to master a skill. I believe it's, Shane, help me out. I think it's 10,000 hours.
10,000. Yeah, that's
right.
right. That's right.
10,000 hours. So,
wow.
If you really want to move your leadership to a different transformative space, it takes you getting into weeds of learning what it is about how you've operated in the past that has served you well, and maybe some areas that really haven't, and why. And it's that whole question of why. And, one of the things that helped me a lot along this journey that's ongoing is the idea of experimentation. And you kind of spoke to this a little bit, Amy, is really not being afraid to fail, but measuring that which you are trying. Because the more often that we can measure those things, the more iterations we can make and the faster we can get to the right solution. So I think, it's a lot about saying, I'm going to get more comfortable with this idea of failure. I think as leaders have sat in the seat for a great, number of years, they tend to get comfortable with being right. So it's this idea of not needing to be right, but a deep desire to get it right, which means I'm going to have to try and learn and fail and try and learn and fail and try and learn and fail over and over and over. And you're actually never complete with that. So, yeah, I think that it's a commitment to learning and saying, I'm going to learn to master this skill and I'm not there yet. And so it's really about learning from other models too. So seeking out others who you see doing this practice well and saying, what do they do that I don't do? And what might I be able to learn from them? Because, I think all the time it's always okay that we're not there. The part that's not okay is when I'm not willing to learn about why I'm not there or what I need to do to get there. So those are some of the things that I really think it takes looking at yourself and saying, okay, what do I not know about this topic and how might I learn these new skills? Because they are new. And it's going to take a lot of different kind of leadership to take your team and even yourself to a different place, especially in the world as it exists today. There is nothing concrete and nothing certain about what is happening next. So, I find that fascinating. I also know that that's scary. So it's getting more comfortable, frankly, with the uncertainty.
Yeah. Shane, did you hear her when she said, leaders get comfortable with being right? And they, and instead they need to get more comfortable with getting it right.
I'm telling you, just put that on a screensaver.
It's just a mic drop
right on your Post-it note
for a second. I mean, that's so powerful.
So powerful.
Is so powerful. I mean,
powerful. Yep.
So how do they move from being right to getting it right?
Yeah. So just from my own experience, moving away from a rigid form of leadership towards an agile form of leadership, I had to place myself in positions where there was increasing levels of discomfort.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like part of this idea of giving up the need to be right and pursue that which is right starts with me getting comfortable being uncomfortable. I've got to place myself into some positions where there are increasing levels of discomfort so I can shed that old way of thinking and embrace this new way that, Kristen is talking about. And I go back to what you said earlier too, Kristen, this idea of curiosity has to be the root, because to me, the opposite of curiosity for a leader is judgment. Like if I don't put down this idea of judging everything, because I've got to win, I got to judge you because I got to win. I got to judge the product because I got to win. It goes back to, again, what you said, who's at the center of all this?
Wow.
Is it you or the person who's got the pain point that you want to serve and solve that problem for? If I can make that switch, if I can shift that perspective, now I'm freed up to put down judgment and pick up curiosity. If I can then build on that and place myself in circumstances where there are increasing levels of discomfort, now growth can start to happen. I'd say all of that you said, Kristen, I was like, dang it, let's just end right there. That's it.
That's right. Right.
I
know. It's so good. It's so good. So Kristen, what is one thing? So the people that will hear this, what is one thing they could do now to begin to move closer to that transparent, curious, non-ego driven leader?
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Great question. I see it all the time. And I think, our emotions are great teachers to us. And in my experience, when emotions are high and we're having that internal battle based on information that we're seeing, that's telling you something, that those are the places to go. So Shane is exactly right. Where you're uncomfortable, that's 100% where your answers lie. So as a leader, when you're getting information that doesn't necessarily stack up with maybe what you thought was right, and you feel that in your body, like you feel it in your gut, it's uncomfortable, you kind of feel naked. So any of those times you felt naked, there is truth there is power. And if you can just trust that it's there, that's the place to go find and start to measure against, because it likely means that there's information there that you either haven't been privy to, you don't know it yet, which is absolutely okay. Or maybe there's another perspective and that's causing that kind of emotional reaction. So I think those are really good learning pieces.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay. So in conclusion, as a leader, if I will pay attention to those like ick moments, like when I start to feel something in my belly or my chest starts to tighten up, or I begin to
out of control.
Yeah, I'm feeling that way. Asking myself, why is this happening? Correct. What is contributing? What environment am I in? Am I with a certain person? Am I by myself? Has a thought just come to me? Did I just read an email? Did I just see a number? What is it that I can learn in that moment? Is that what I hear you saying?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. And there's a reason why you feel that, our whole life, right? You don't become a leader that we're talking about and get to these levels without having great success. And likely some of the things you did to get there, they're the very things that might need to change.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why it's uncomfortable. You subscribe to a way that has worked for you. And the thing is, it worked in a steady, stable, predictable environment. But the world isn't that way anymore. So that is why the need for agile transformation, because it's those habits that got you the success in the first place. Hey, that's fabulous. And it's something to absolutely appreciate, but to also understand that some of them are not going to serve you in a new world that is incredibly unpredictable.
Well said. So good. I mean, You should go back and watch this 500 times.
I'm telling you,
Anyone
I'm
that's
just I'm
watching-
taking notes over here,
I
man.
know, me too. I got 2 pages of notes. It's so good. Kristen, your contribution to all of us that are listening is so deep, so
Mhm.
impactful. And I really believe that it does contribute to the very thing we say here, that systems run your business, but you run the systems. And so if you will take what Kristen has given you today and begin to implement it, you will find that these systems will convert at a much higher rate for you, no matter what you're trying to get them to do. So
Well said.
thank you, Kristen. Shane, always fun.
Always good. Thanks for being here,
And
Kristen. This
yeah,
was great.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Thank you. And we'll see you guys next week.